So our learning target for today is I can estimate sums and differences using benchmark numbers. So there's a lot of important words in that learning target. The first is estimate. What does it mean to estimate? Well, it means we're not finding the exact number or the exact answer when we add or subtract. We're looking for about the same value. That's a big word. About the same. About meaning we're really estimating. And we're looking for answers that are pretty close when we estimate. So today we're not looking for those exact answers like we usually do in math. We're just looking for answers that are about the same. Now for estimating sums and differences, sums meaning addition, differences meaning subtraction, and you can see I've already drawn a number line because we're going to use benchmark numbers to really help us show our thinking. Because when you estimate, it's even more important that you're really showing your thinking. So for example, we're going to add the fractions, the mixed numbers, 3 1/5, and 4 and 8/9. So we're going to add these two fractions. And if I'm looking on a number line, I know my 0 is going to be around here. I'm going to put my 1 here, and my 1/2 benchmark number right in the middle. And I need to ask myself, where would 1/5 show up on our number line? Would it be closer to my 0 or closer to 1/2? If I draw it 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, I see 1/5 is closer to 0, which means 1/5 is closer to 3 than it is to 4. So 3 and 1/5 is about 3. So I can say the sum of that is about 3. I'm going to do the same with 8/9, 4 and 8/9. I know that 8/9, well, if we were thinking as a whole number, 9/9 is 1/2. So 8/9 is probably pretty close to here because this is where our whole number is, our 1 or our whole number. So 8/9 is probably pretty close to here on the number line, which means that 4 and 8/9 is probably closest to the next whole number, which in this case, we'd be adding 1 to 4, which would be 5. So now, I can just add 3 plus 5 is 8. And I can say, well, 3 and 1/5 plus 4 and 8/9 is about 8 wholes. It's about 8 wholes when I add them together. It's not exact, but it's close to 8. This isn't the exact answer, but it's close. Now you can see through that, I showed you the number line. I still had an equation, but I'm showing you my thinking. Now I can do that through the number line, or I could write a sentence and say, well, I know 1/5 is closer to 3. I know 8/9 is closer to 5 than it is 4, so I'm adding 3 plus 5 to make 8. My answer is about 8. If you want to write 1 or 2 sentences instead of draw the number line, that's totally okay. So those are the 2 ways you can show your thinking in estimation, really writing out your response or using the number line. I'm going to show one more with mixed numbers. And again, I'm going to start by drawing my number line. I want to make sure I'm always drawing my number line. I'm going to try to we have 2 choices when you draw the number line. You could just do one number line and think about the distance between 0 and 1, and then use reasoning with another whole number. Or you can draw 2 number lines to match both of your mixed numbers. So those are the 2 strategies you can use. So if I was doing 8 and 9/10 and 2, rewrite that 2 and 4/8, and I was subtracting them this time, right? Because our learning target said we're not just looking for the sums, but we're also looking for the differences. I'm going to, again, I put my 0 in my 1 hole. I'm going to put my half marker tick, my 1/2. And now I can look at my 2 mixed numbers. So I have 8 and 9/10. Well, I know 10/10 is 1 hole, right? So 9/10 is about here, really close to my 1 hole. So that means I need to add another 1 whole to 8, because 9/10 is closer to the next whole number than it is to 8, which means I will say it's about 9. So now I'm going to subtract what from 9? Well, I have 2 and 4/8. Now 4 is half of 8, so 4/8 is actually one of my benchmark numbers. It's actually the halfway point. It's equal to 1/2. So I could just subtract 9 and 2 and 4/8. And 9 minus 2 is 7. And then I also have 4/8 still that I need to subtract, which means it's actually going to be 6 and 4/8. Now we could just say 4/8, it's in the middle, but so you can show with reason an estimation. You could either put it right closer to that 1 hole or closer to the 0 if that feels like this jump would be a really hard one. But again, I showed using the number line where 4/8 is and 9/8 is, or sorry, 9/10 is, and then I used an equation to subtract. Those are with mixed numbers. If you have an improper fraction, you can still do the same thinking. Now, I think putting improper fractions on the number line gets a little bit trickier. So I would always choose to turn that improper fraction into a mixed number like we've been practicing the last couple of days. And we can do that with a number bond. So here we have 15/4. I know 4 goes into 15 3 times, so I have 12/4. And then I have 12 plus 3. And now same here, 22/7. 7, 14, 21. That's the closest I can get to 22. And I have 1 remaining, 1/7 remaining. I have just that one piece. So now I have 3 holes and 3/4. And I'm subtracting, or I'm adding, 3 holes and 1/7. And now I can use that number line, right? Because it was 3 holes and 3/4 because 4 goes into 12 3 times. We have 3/4 remaining. 7 goes into 21 3 times. And I have 1/7 remaining. So 3/4. Well, I know 4/4 is right here on my number line. So 3/4 is going to be about here, which means I'm going to round up. Or I'm going to say 3 and 3/4 is about 4. So I'm going to do it up here just because I'm running out of space. 4. This is going to be my estimation plus 3 and 1/7. Well, I know 0 is 0/7. That's a terrible 7. So 1/7 is going to be about here. So I would say it's going to be about 3. 1/7 is closer to 3 than it is to the next whole number. So now I'm going to say 4 plus 3 is equal to 7. So I'm looking for about the same number. You're going to try 2 on the next slide, and then you can go to the worksheet.